Welcome back, or welcome if this is your first time on cable TV or YouTube. My name's Tina Hurley. I'm the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called Less Leg, More Heart that helps people with disabilities in the community in 4 ways. We help with peer mentorship, medical advocacy, we fund holistic approaches to care, and we fund services during transition. For more information, go check out lesslegmoreheart.com and see the many ways that we're helping in the community. This series is about educating, inspiring, and providing value to our community when it comes to certain topics and stories that are impressive and pieces of information that I want to share that I've acquired through my journey or folks that I've met have acquired through their journeys. And so without further ado, I have an incredible guest today, my very good friend Celeste, and she's here to share essentially her story about survivorship and also the importance of service dogs. We actually just finished International Service Dog Awareness Week, and it was an opportunity for me to look into details about service dogs. I don't yet have one. I'd like one at some point, but I really didn't know all the ADA rules and all of the areas for discrimination that folks can sort of get, bottlenecked into. And so I think that spreading awareness and educating people about personal stories and the effect of service dogs on the lives of other people and how folks in the community can respond better and be more educated would be a wonderful use of this platform. So, Celeste, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Great to be here.
Yes, and she actually did my hair a few weeks ago, so the reason I look this way is because she's got great skills in the hairdresser's salon. But
thank you.
Yeah, so Celeste, you have acquired a lot of public appearances because of what you and your family have gone through. And, to me, I don't see your legs because I know you, but that was how we came to know each other. Mm-hmm. And it's certainly a huge part of, the whole journey and the change in your life and the reason for your connection to service dogs and the disability community. So how do you want to, divide this? I want you to share sort of maybe what you went through and just enough so folks can understand the big transition that had happened and the lasting effects of what did happen on you and your family.
Right. So we were, our story, we were at the finish line. So we were at the first bomb, and we were there because it was the first time I ever went to the marathon. My sister trained for the marathon, and it was the first one that she ever ran in, and I'm like definitely the big sister, mother, everybody, so she trained so hard and I was so proud of her. So it was like I needed to be at the finish line to see her. So that's why we were where we were. We were with other friends, another couple and their daughter, and our daughter was with us too. And everybody got hurt that day. I almost lost my daughter. She had a piece of the pressure cooker go through her femoral artery. She had a hole in her foot. She almost bled out, if not for like a Marine and a guy that works at Marathon Sports. She had a few lifesavers. And myself, my husband was my lifesaver. He saw that I was bleeding, he says, with every heartbeat. So he took off his belt, did a tourniquet, and then I think he got a belt from somebody else, did the other tourniquet. And I was awake the whole time. I didn't lose consciousness. And all I kept thinking was, like, I needed to just hold on, like it hurt. I've heard people say after some, horrific, tragic accident or something, they'd be like, I didn't feel a thing. I'm like, how'd they get that? Oh. I felt everything.
No.
Yeah. So all I kept thinking was that I had to hold on until I got to the hospital and they were going to fix my legs. And then, they're taking me in and everything. And then a doctor had come over and I think I was like fading out. And I just remember him with a clipboard and he said, can you sign this? We need to sign this so we can amputate both your legs. And I just remember looking at him like, did he really just say that? Wow. Like what? And I think I said both. And he went, yes. And he was just, yes, like just solemn. And I was just sort of like, okay, like I just had to make the pain go away, Wow. So I just signed. So losing your legs, having any amputations is, big change. I was a hairstylist my whole life. My Barbies when I was a little girl had bobs, So my work was on my legs, on my feet. all the time, so not only did I get my legs taken away, I got my career, basically, my passion taken away from me for a little while. I can still do it now, but it's not the same because I do still have pain daily, and that interferes with it.
Yeah.
But one thing that did help Saul, it did help to get when we got our service dogs. So mine, he's, I like to say he's semi-retired now because between COVID and everything, he's out of practice and he's getting older and stuff. And I don't need him as much as I did at the beginning.
Yeah.
But he was a mobility service dog, so he would help me. I had harness on him that had like a bar on it.
Yeah.
And so if I was standing and I was a little wobbly or something, I could hold on to that, or him himself. Like I could tell him brace, and he would brace.
Wow.
He would just stand, and I would never put my whole weight on him, but it's a support.
Yeah.
And if I was on the ground or something, I could have him brace to help me just stand up, because with both legs, if you have one leg, it's so much better.
They call it, I have one leg. It's called, I had a guy come in and he said.
Don't even tell me they said paper cut.
Oh yeah, in the hospital, he looks over and he goes, "What are you worried about? You just got a paper cut." And he's a veteran, so that's like a big thing in the veteran community. And I remember I laughed because I'm pretty, I've got a sadistic kind of sense of humor, but afterwards, the lasting effect of that was like, I felt my trauma was so minimized. But now doing what I do and being experienced to the world that I've been experienced to, and meeting beautiful people like you that have gone through so much worse and have so many more physical impairments, it is paper cut in comparison to spinal cord injuries and other kinds of amputations and neurologic conditions. So I actually think it's kind of an accurate assessment, but you have to be at the right stage of grieving to hear that.
Exactly, because no matter what, amputation stinks.
Yeah, it's not fun.
You can have a prosthetic, you can run, you can, walk, you can do all sorts of stuff, but it's never the same as when you have your legs. Like, I look at videos of myself and I just look, it's so, I don't know what the word is, misleading. I look at myself and I look like I'm perfectly comfortable and fine, and I'm smiling and whatever, and then I remember like that day or doing that, and I'm like, yeah, I was in so much pain, I couldn't wait to sit down, I couldn't wait to pop off the leg, or I needed to take something, or
I can relate
whatever.
To that.
So
I can relate to that. I can't get around. A lot of people don't know, because most below-knee amputees, you wear your leg all day. It's not a big deal. But of course, my condition is, it's a lot. It's ongoing, and I still have a lack of blood flow, and so I can't get through like a grocery store. So I'm doing, like you said, to that point, you look normal.
Right.
We don't, right? Because we've got the prosthetics, and we're lucky in that way in a lot of respects, because people can appreciate that they
have a visual to understand if you do have a service dog, why they can sort of make the connection.
But before I lost my leg, I had essentially invisible disabilities, and I still couldn't get around the store, and I would stand there like sweating, waiting for the line to go forward. But of course, if I tried to push through, I just looked like this young, anxious person that's trying to cut a line, but really it's because I'm about to sit on the floor because I'm in pain.
Your leg's going to give out on you.
Exactly. So when you talk about the things that it does for you, that the service dog has done for you, it's profound. And then when we talk about invisible disabilities and the things that they can do as well for that population, but the stigma and the discrimination that might come with it, I want to touch on that a little bit.
That's huge.
It's huge because there are so many folks that just don't understand service dogs, understand the rules, right? The ADA,
I don't understand the rules.
I know. We're still learning as we go. My sister, who has a service dog, she's a retired veteran, she had sent me an ADA service dog informational link early this year, actually, that I was blown away. I didn't realize that service dogs didn't need specialized training.
The vest and...
Yeah, and they don't need the vest. I mean, that's all optional, and sometimes it's a good thing for people that have invisible disabilities, especially because it at least shows that visual that people can respect, but they don't have to have it.
Right.
And it's not law. They only just need town or state registration for the dog, because it's not considered a pet, it's considered an actual worker.
Right.
But I didn't know that. So I thought I couldn't have a service dog as someone that has very clear, long-standing impairment, because I didn't know who was going to train it, where I was going to get it, how I was going to pay for the training. And I realize now I can just train the dog myself, as long as the dog is trained to do a specific task related to my disability. That's what a service dog is. That's the difference between a service dog and an ESA, an emotional support animal, who is to provide comfort for folks that have, psychologic challenges. But the difference between that and a service dog is that a service dog does tasks that help the person with a disability, and that can be psychiatric disability, that can be PTSD.
Right. That's where I always have like an issue with it, because an invisible disability, there's too many people that don't know enough about service dogs, so hopefully this will help. I guess they don't understand how integral, how important that service dog is to that person's freedom, independence, just everything. It could make someone, that normally stays at home and doesn't go to stores or has other people shop for them or whatever because it's too much. If they have a service dog that can corner for them, so say they're walking somewhere and they would be startled if someone came right into their
because
space
of like
or
a
something.
PTSD diagnosis or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So the dog can like go around the corner to make sure that nobody's going to be in their human's personal space.
Right.
Right. They can.
So that's an abortive, right? Like they're aborting the opportunity for that surprise and that trigger of the PTSD.
Exactly, and they're maintaining space. If they're trained to do that, they're maintaining space around the person so that, like, even behind, like if my dog was trained to do that, if I was standing and people were behind me, like queuing up or something like that, like he might get behind me to just make sure that nobody got too close.
Yeah. Because
he would read my body language and stuff like that. So my biggest thing is that I want people to understand that there's so many invisible disabilities, and too many people feel it's their duty or their place or I don't know what to police the situation, like want to know what's going on, whatever, and it's none of their business.
Right.
Or and that little thing, that little question, somebody coming up to you and being like, "You look fine. This happened to my daughter. She was in a store, and a guy like walking back and forth, sort of near her, and she was just kind of like, "What is his problem?" And then she said, after a few minutes, he stopped next to her and he was like, "I don't get it. Why do you need the service dog?"
And the face. Oh.
Yeah. I don't get it. And she was.
That's so confrontational for someone that has a traumatic response.
Exactly. And she was a teenager at the time. So, I mean, that's a tough time anyway. I had one instance where I was challenged about my service dog because of my legs. But I had one because everybody sees this and then nobody questions me. My heart breaks for anybody that has a service dog or an invisible disability, and they're
constantly having to prove themselves.
Exactly. Thank you.
Explain themselves. And so that constant state of defense is just a perpetual trigger.
It's somebody with PTSD. It's just going to send them right
back.
So
you stay home. And then that service dog ends up becoming kind of a pet because you can't utilize it for the functions of socializing you and getting you outside of your home. And then the secondary psychological effects of that and the depressions and there's so many issues with it. So to your point, if anyone is taking anything away from this segment, because there's three people that are going to be watching. There's someone that's a dog owner, a service dog owner. There's someone in the community that just might be observing the people that have service dogs. And there's there's business owners. There's people that own flights or people that work in businesses that are going to have patrons that have service dogs. So when we talk about that whole collective, the knowledge that we want you to take away from this is you are only allowed to ask 2 questions. Beyond that, you are discriminating and you're causing a significant issue that you are likely never going to understand the implications of as it pertains to the life and quality of life of people with disabilities. And those 2 questions per ADA law are, is this a service dog? And what are they trained to do? And when it comes to what are they trained to do, you don't need to give them
a laundry list,
a whole dissertation of the things it's capable of. You say one thing. This is a service dog essentially they're trained to help me with a disability. That's the sort of like formal first question. And they assist me by providing, I would say, physical stability, balance, or whatever it is. But that's all you have to give. And if anybody asks any questions beyond that, you don't, as the person with a service dog, I would just say, try not to react, but respond in a way that is recognizing it's an educational opportunity to save the next person after you when they deal with that person that doesn't understand. It's going to save them trouble by saying, the ADA governs service dogs, and the 2 questions you can ask me are, share that with them. Anything beyond that, I'm being discriminated against. And you proceed into that establishment. The only reasons they can ask you to leave, whether it's an airplane or it's a restaurant or it's anywhere in the world, I mean, we're mostly covered in the US. I can't speak to international law, but so maybe I went a little bit crazy. But the only things that your dog can do to make someone be allowed to let them leave or ask them to leave are if they're wildly untrained, it's creating a behavioral issue and it's unsafe. They're barking, they've just nipped somebody.
That's the whole thing in a nutshell, because a service dog is still a living, breathing dog. Sorry to cut you off, but it's still a living, breathing dog that they bark, they get startled, they whatever.
Right.
The difference between a trained dog and a not trained dog is if there is a loud noise, they might startle, but they're not going to startle like violently.
They'll reel it in.
Exactly. If they bark, hey, cut that out, and you can get them to stop barking. They're trained.
Right.
Not, they're not going to disrupt. They go under your table or under your seat in restaurants.
Yep. So, and there's going to be, and then the second one is that if they're like not house trained, and that's like, there might be accidents here and there. Maybe the dog is sick, like you said. It's a living animal.
It's a living animal.
But it's not going to be
it's
peeing all over the place. No. So that's how people can kind of spot dogs that may be not necessarily fakes, but maybe in training. They're not necessarily there yet. And when it comes to imposter dogs, as they call it, or people that are abusing the system and having fake dogs, it's like anything in the world. There are going to be people that take advantage of the system, but we have to recognize that that's the exclusion,
right?
Or that's the exception, not the rule. And we have to treat everybody with a disability in a non-discriminatory way and assume that it is real unless there is something you can't ignore. And even then, try to ignore it, because the chances of it being a real service dog are huge, and it's important that they stay with that person to protect that person in whatever way it is. Maybe it's epilepsy. Right. Maybe it's, as you mentioned, PTSD. Maybe it's physical mobility, and we're going to save that person a fall.
Yep.
And there's lots of indications for it. And people can have multiple dogs. I read the
sizes.
Oh, yeah.
Like there can be, my dog's big because it's mobility. Somebody can have like a little purse pet, that warns them about
trained to do.
Absolutely, to take medication, or you're going to have a seizure or whatever. So that's the thing. Like most people are accustomed to seeing like maybe a guide dog for the blind or something like that, and that was like all we knew. Like that was the only instance maybe that they had a service dog. But now the dogs are fantastic.
There even can be horses now, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
So like they come in all different flavors here, and people can have multiple. So I was reading that
I never knew that.
Yeah, people can have up to 2 service dogs, because if they have a wide array of disabilities, one service dog may not be able to handle all of the needs necessary, and also there may be multiple things needed at the same time for abortive or treatment for that person. So that's pretty interesting as well. And also to note about that's the same for flights. They should be allowed up to 2 animals on flights, and you would obviously, if you're someone traveling with a service dog, need to check into those airlines, because there are forms that do need to be submitted up front. That's the only additional step you have to take when traveling in that way. But again, same questions apply. Is it for your disability, and what can they perform to you is all that you're asked.
And a lot of airlines, so we traveled a lot when this first happened to us, and our experience my family's experience on airlines with our service dogs, or in restaurants, in hotels, because my daughter had the service dog and I had the service dog, and most of the time everybody was fine, but it was her. Like I just feel like there needs to be so much more awareness throughout. I did something legislative, we had talked about it, because it's like that point, like nobody.
It's so misconstrued, and it's misunderstood, and it's under talked about.
It's unclear.
Yeah.
So people are very confused, and that's where it can get very confrontational.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't ever get to be like that, it should just be like just easygoing. Like, there's a service dog, okay, great, wow, that's wonderful.
Speaking of
And
easygoing,
on your way.
I'm taking my leg off because I'm getting a little uncomfortable, so feel free to get comfortable if you need to.
I want mine
People at
out
home,
too.
This is what we do to try to get comfy. We use our legs as kickstands, and we're just going to air the limbs out. It gets hot. Just a segue. It's summer, and we're both amputees. We wear these thick, non-breathable liners all the way up your limbs, and you reduce your ability to evaporatively cool when you're a double amputee significantly. So anyway, we're just going to get
I'm all wrapped up.
Yeah.
But this leg, I can't bend it back too hard because of the plastic. But
yeah, well, because you got one
after
below knee and then
so
one above.
this one's below, and this one is above, or they say through the knee. Yeah, I have my knee cap, so it looks like this, like I can move it like this, but I don't have anything else functional. So this is a microprocessor knee.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, you have all the adornments, all the bracelets and stuff too, which I
yes.
need to get
So
more of.
a little girl that I met at the place that I go for my prosthetics, Bella, she had a couple bracelets on her legs back when I first went, and I love jewelry. I usually have a lot of bracelets on my arm, but I saw that and I was like, Bella, I think I must have said something like, that's a great idea. Can I steal your idea? I think I must have said steal, because she looked at me and she was like, you're going to have to get your own. Like, I think she thought I was going to take them right off her leg. And I was like, oh my gosh.
So kind of like friendship bracelets. I know you'd given me a couple, and I just got a new leg that I'm trying out, so I don't have them on. But it's nice to feel, I think part of being a woman and an amputee is you've got these, big pieces of hardware, and they're carbon fiber. And when you're someone that, I'm girly in a sense, and, you want to create a personalization of the things that you have and something that makes you feel good about them. And there's different things, and I think we've talked about service dogs. I think this is interesting for other people, but there's skins, right? There's things that people can put onto their limbs to make it look like a real leg. But I never really wanted to elect to do that, and I think you share a common thought with that, because this prosthetic leg, this carbon fiber, all this metal, it represents the fortitude, the strength, literally metal, of what had to be forged to get through such a challenging process in my life. And it's an opportunity to discuss, and it's an educational opportunity for my community, and it represents my strength, and it represents this transition. And also, there's just a lot to be said for the confidence that it makes me feel to just be authentically the way that I am, which is a cyborg now.
This is it. Yep.
But that's not the case for everybody, and that's okay. Everyone's got different opinions.
Absolutely.
But it's hard to blend in, and that's the benefit to having skin sometimes, is that you can put it on your leg, and you don't have to be Tina the amputee in the crowd.
Right.
You don't have to be the different one all the time.
Right. That was very strange at the beginning, and I've had to kind of get used to that. I'm not sure if you can completely get used to that, but I know that I'm going to get looks and stuff. But my legs, I loved my legs. I had nice legs,
You
right?
did. I saw photos.
I
They were
had nice legs. Like, that was one of my best features. And then, gone. So for me, it's like they died that day, and I had to grieve for them, and nothing artificial was ever going to look like my leg or replicate my leg. So I was just sort of like, okay, go the exact opposite. Like, have it look as mechanical and different and high tech as it can be. And if people, look at it, like so many people, and it's fine. I know so many amputees that hide their, they wear long pants, and you can't even, unless they pull up their leg, you can't tell. And I feel like, at least for now, from when this happened till now, I don't mind. I welcome the questions and the kids that look at me in a store, and
because this is your identity now,
yes,
right?
It's me. I don't want to scare kids, like I love kids, so I want them to be able to be like if they point or something, I'll like wave from far away. I'd just smile or something, because you don't want to freak them out. But
honestly, I'm really excited to unpack that in another segment, because the way that we can approach people with disabilities and the childlike wonderment that happens is something that I definitely want to talk about. So Celeste is going to come back on the show. I'm going to lure her back because we have so many things to educate the community about. But to leave a lasting statement when it pertains to service dogs, which is kind of why we congregated just today. Is there something we should leave the group with? Just a kind of a quick, what is our 2-cent take home? From my side, it's try to not police the matter and to be respectful of anyone that has a dog with them in a place that you wouldn't expect them to be able to have a dog, because it should be in your mind a service dog as the first thought. That should be not, this dog's out of place, this person's breaking rules, they shouldn't be here. It should be, they're a service dog, they should be here, as just the first thing you think.
Just assume that.
Yep.
Give them the benefit of the doubt, because they're already fighting so many battles, and it was probably so hard for them to get out and get to the place that they were at, and your little smirk or little question or whatever could just ruin the whole day,
Yeah.
And it's not like people are really hurt, and people need to realize that if it's even sometimes I think invisible disabilities are harder because no one can see. They look at me and they just, if I say I'm in pain, they're like, oh, you must be.
Yeah, we've got it easy compared to them for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm excited to talk more about it. And Celeste, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your expertise. I'm so excited to just be able to pick your brain and share that with other people. So guys, check out the links that we provided. Check out Less Leg, More Heart. Look at Celeste online. And the movie was...
Oh, gosh, the HBO documentary.
Yeah. Marathon.
Yep.
So yeah, she was in that. You can check that out. I mean, her and her family are incredible. But until next time, put your best foot forward.